I guess you reconnected with your father after 12 or after that year. Um,
Well, that was and that was an interesting time as well because and I was a teenager, and teenagers tend to be a little bit rebellious and do that kind of want to do their own thing. So having my mum wanted us to be around our dad, so she moved back, which was a
oh,
good thing. So she had that intention, so that was a good thing. It wasn't sort of something that
yeah.
had to be mandated by a court or anything like that, which some people experience. So she did want us to be around our dad, so we moved back to the same town. But then, it's being a teenager and wanting to be. So whenever I got upset with one parent, I just moved to the other parent. So I just went backwards. And there was times there where being as a parent, my dad had what he wanted was the best interest for us, and obviously there was some, well, not obviously, but there was some issues, with a teenager that's gone through a breakup that has some self-worth issues, which I had at the time, and a bit of rebelliousness, and just all that rolled into one. Um, so the communication with my dad wasn't always great. Um, Instead, I don't remember my dad yelling a lot, if at all. I'm trying to think of. I know he must have. I think there must have been times when he got frustrated and yelled, but I don't remember that. Um, and um, it's yeah. So and there was this always a distance between us, from sort of from the breakup onwards.
Mm.
Um, and there was two things that kind of brought us back together much later. After I'd done my time in the army, I got out, and I was working in the northwestern Australia in the mine sites up there. I went up there to do some construction work and then continued to work in the mines. And my dad was going through a bit of a self-loathing period where he was unhappy with his life, still living in the fact that the marriage didn't work, and things that had flowed on from that, and he was just going, and I think I was being selfish. I got a bit upset with that, but, well, I just didn't want to listen. It's like, I've had enough. I'm not listening to your shit anymore, was my thinking. But I approach it from this way. I thought, how am I going to deal with this? I don't want to be listening to this anymore, but I need to help him somehow. So I wrote him a letter, and I don't remember what's in it. My dad still got it, but I've never asked to look at it. But I wrote him a letter, said, you need to get your shit together. This is not good. Um, and here's a couple of books to read. I think and Grow Rich was in there. Seven
Oh, wow.
Habits of Highly Effective People were in there. And said, read these books, get your shit together, move on with your life. And yeah, so I wrote that to him, and he did. He actually turned around, and he became, he's quite a successful investor. He goes out rock and rolling. He's adamant he's not going to get married again. He's got a long list of women that he helps, um that are always around. He's always going around feeding someone's cat or dog when they're away, and he's got all, yeah, anyway. There's questions, there's conversations you don't have with your parents. The closest I got to that was, he was telling me, he was telling me when I went to his house that, one lady was there and he was showing her the house, and he pointed to the bedroom. So that's the bedroom. If you can't go in there because there's special rules if you go in there. And he goes, she walked in. What was I to do? And I said, Dad, that's as far as I want to go with that conversation. But the thing was, many years later, when I was going through a really difficult period, after separating with my partner, and there was a lot of things that were challenging from that. And my dad provided me a fair bit of support as well. And there was a time I needed a bit of financial support, and asking your dad for help is really difficult, especially asking for money is really
Mhm.
difficult. But I mustered up the courage and said, Dad, look, I need this help. And he provided, he was no question about it. He just goes, yeah, no problem. How much do you need? And and I was sitting on a train. I was in a suit, well dressed, on a train, and I wrote a text message to my dad saying, "Look, Dad, I really appreciate the help you've given me through this. It's meant a lot to me. I and something along those lines. I can't remember the exact words. And he wrote back, the bastard wrote back while I'm on a train in a suit, with lots of people around me. He wrote back saying, "No, I need to thank you for the letter you sent me all those years ago
Wow.
because you
Mm,
saved my life." So there I am in a packed train in a suit, bawling my eyes out.
mm,
Wow.
You know, and as I say that in jest, the bastard wrote back to me, but it was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I was